gangster, dog, keep it gangster. Keep it 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 gangster, dog, keep it gangster.
I don't think I've ever seen Donald Trump do the sea walk before. I didn't know he can move like that. He did pass all his medical examinations. It's only been a week into 2026, and Mark Carney has officially burned 10 times more jet fuel than Donald Trump. And you're not gonna believe where he's going next. And he's gonna start in Canada and circle the entire planet. Mainstream media is in full meltdown mode, claiming that Doug Ford needs to watch his back after Maduro. I don't know about you, but I think it's time that Canada defunds mainstream media. If they can't survive on their own, they should not exist. Let's get into this report. The real Mr. Bench on X, go ahead and follow him, has tracked Mark Carney's plane, flying all the way to Paris. That's right, he spent 23 hours there. That is it. He took one photo up and witnessed the signing and a bunch of pictures with Macron, flew all the way back to Ottawa. Here's Justin Trudeau's time with Macron. Look at how Macron held Justin Trudeau's head and ear, and Justin got his arms on the back of Macron. Now let's take a look at Mark Carney. Oh, ear to ear. I don't know. Ear to ear is pretty good. And there with it, and you can see there's just so much love for Macron. I'll let you decide who's better. RPM, one of my favorites, had to make a video of Mark Biden leaving Canada for his next golden trip. China is furious that the U.S. have seized a Venezuelan oil tanker, and they claim this is a direct violation of international law. What was Mark Carney's response? He is off to communist China.
The United States has brazenly resorted to the use of force against Venezuela and demanded that America First be applied when Venezuela disposes of its own oil resources. This is a typical act of bullying, a serious violation of international law, and a grave infringement on Venezuela's sovereignty that also severely undermines the rights of Venezuelan people. China strongly condemns this. I would like to stress that the legitimate rights and interests of China and other countries in Venezuela must be protected. The United States has long imposed illegal unilateral sanctions on Venezuela's oil sector and has recently brazenly used force against Venezuela, dealing a severe blow to the country's economic and social order and also threatening the stability of global production and supply chains. China has already issued strong condemnation in this regard. I would like to reiterate that cooperation between China and Venezuela is a cooperation between sovereign states and is protected by international law and laws of both countries.
Just so that people are aware, Donald Trump made it a requirement that Venezuela will no longer do any business with China, Russia, and Iran as a condition to remove the sanctions on Venezuela and for them to be able to sell their oil to the world. China is not happy. But Mark Carney, instead of going down to the United States to get a deal with Donald Trump, he's going directly to China. And I posted, Mark Carney's heading to China next week, the first PM to visit China in 8 years. Mark Carney has burned more jet fuel in 9 months than you will in your entire life. We're still waiting on a brand new pipeline approval, repaired relationship with the United States, and fixing Canada's collapsing economy. But nope. China is number one. Dog Turd in the messages says, is he taking this guy with him? And Mark Carney might break the record in the first half of this year. ACAST 56 says, in honor of the visit, he has a brand new do. You know how they always dress up when they travel around the world? Well, here is Mark Carney's brand new look. The proud conservative boomer post. This is his 18th trip since becoming prime minister. Honestly, that is insane. Couple more. Karl Marx is calling, and Canada is not for sale. Here's CTV News release on Mark Carney's trip to China, but they're forgetting a stop he's making after China.
Prime Minister Mark Carney will be heading to China next week. The visit comes on the heels of the Prime Minister's meeting in Paris with Ukraine's allies. The Prime Minister's office says Carney will travel to China from January the 13th to the 17th to, quote, elevate engagement on trade, energy, agriculture, and international security. This will mark the first visit to China by a Canadian Prime Minister since 2017. We'll have more on this throughout the morning.
CTV said more on this. This is the more on this. Check out this news release.
So it sounds like you're telling us, Margaret, that Canada wants stability in a relationship with China. What are you expecting to emerge? Do you think that there could be some sort of trade agreement in the works? Do you think that some of China's tariffs will be rolled back? What are you watching for, and what is your level of expectation?
Well, I know that Canadian government officials have been working very, very actively in recent months to try to resolve the canola issue. China has explicitly said that we must remove the 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles in order to have the tariff on canola removed. They make these connections to other sectors, and this is part of their coercive behavior. And if we did remove that 100% tariff on electric vehicles, it would kill our auto sector pretty quickly, because we'd get, not really cheap Chinese autos. Some people think we could buy a Chinese car for $14,000. That's not true. They price their cars in Europe at 10% below the competitors, and so that allows them to really get those sales. And so, China is not a market for the problems we're having with the U.S.
By the way, if there was a 10% discount on a Chinese EV, would you be buying it? I mean, I don't think they would be successful. Personally, at 10%, I would not be buying a Chinese EV. That's just me.
They're not going to solve our auto problem. In fact, they want to dump their excess cars here. They're not going to solve our aluminum and steel problem. They want to dump their excess steel and aluminum here. What we can talk to them about is alternatives, other things that they might like instead of dumping their excess products, like more investment in our conventional energy. And we know from Prime Minister Carney that we're going to be making massive investments in that area. Chinese investment would be welcome in conventional energy. I don't include clean energy and clean technologies in that, because they've taken small Canadian companies to the cleaners. They've taken our IP and they ease out the Canadian partner over time. So that's a real risk to be looking at clean technology for that sector. And I would also point out that while China likes to talk about how they are our next biggest trading partner after the U.S., it's only 3.8% of our exports. The trade with the U.S. is 76% of our exports. The EU is 8%. And the UK is just a touch behind China. So we'd be better off focusing on Europe and England, and as well the Indo-Pacific, the other partners that are like-minded partners, or like Vietnam, countries with common interests.
Why don't we focus on the United States? 76% of all our trade goes down there. We can't replace United States overnight. Let's be real here. Out of all this, what do we got with China? So we're not going to buy their EVs because it makes 0 sense. We still have all of the tariffs on our agri-foods from China. The only thing we could offer them is our conventional oil and gas. But we have no pipeline. Well, we have a pipeline, TMX. They're saying it's not at capacity, but it is at capacity. They could only run it at 80%. They can't run it at 100%. The way that we could increase capacity, which takes 5 more years, is to add pumps to the pipeline. That could increase 500,000 barrels per day, but that will take 5 years. That should be immediately approved. Immediately. And the Northern Gateway Pipeline could add an additional 2 million barrels per day. That needs to be approved immediately. What else? So there's nothing else for Mark Carney to talk about, but we have an MOU. That is nothing, okay? Leaked. That's right, leaked. Mark Carney's trip from January 13th to the 21st goes to communist China. Then he goes Qatar, and we know from Moose on the Loose, he has all sorts of Brookfield business to do there. Then he goes to the World Economic Forum. That's Mark Carney's New Year itinerary. New Year, new Mark Carney going to his buddies. And the trip was announced by mainstream media, only covered his trip to China. While Canadians face economic crisis at home, he's off to Davos to drink champagne with his global elites. I really hope Rebel News is going to be there providing on-the-ground coverage. Let's take a look at some of these comments because I absolutely love reading your comments. If you're not on my Twitter X account, go over there, leave a comment. You might feature on my show. We got Canada Roast, how it started, elbows up to how it's going, wheels up. So true, so true. Little Pork has Qatar. Ooh, and I recognize this chart. It looks like the Moose chart. Canada's the industrial implosion. That's right, nothing to see here. Oh boy, we're in big trouble in Canada. This is not a good chart. You gotta love National Roast. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you could do for Brookfield. So mark your calendars, Canada. The World Economic Forum annual meeting is on January 19th to the 21st. He's coming back on the 21st, so he's going to miss the last 2 days. Maybe he's trying to rush home because the Conservative Conference is at the end of January. He probably has to inform all the mainstream media outlets how to spin it left, right, and center and create this brand new whatever campaign to spin everything sideways. Maybe he has a brand new floor crosser that he's going to announce the week that the conference is in order to sabotage Pierre Poilievre's confidence vote. Now this is complete madness. Mark Carney's going to open a consulate and appoint a consul general in Greenland. How much is this going to cost us? Hundreds of thousands of dollars for this new appointment. But hopefully he sends one of his MPs and they have to step down and there's a by-election and the Conservatives win that by-election. Wouldn't that be nice? At least we get something back by this appointment. But just so people are aware, there's only villages on Greenland. Just a couple villages. Under 60,000 people live in Greenland. The only reason he's doing this is to deter Donald Trump from annexation or taking over Greenland. It's a direct slap in the face to Donald Trump. What do you think, Canada? Is this a joke or what? After 3 long years and tent cities across British Columbia, I can no longer take my children on any of the public's transportation because they're going to be exposed to fumes and all sorts of things. Complete chaos. From 3 straight years of decriminalization, Premier David Eby finally realizes that maybe it was a terrible idea and it doesn't work. I'm actually excited that he's reversing this. But will we get the experts that came out and said this would be a great idea to come out and apologize to Canadians? I think not. Look. This thing got 466,000 views. And yeah, you could only imagine how many of the comments are just like, well, duh. Greater Vancouver just recorded the lowest home sales in over 20 years, worse than 2008. Sales are down 25% versus the 10-year average. Inventory's up 28%. Prices are falling across all categories and types. 2026 is going to be a tough year for sellers. Check out this chart. Lowest amount of property sales ever on recorded history. Hopefully you don't have to sell your property if you're in the Lower Mainland, because you're not going to get what you want for it. It's best to wait. I think the market's going to turn around, but it's probably going to take 2 or 3 years from now. There's growing calls for Chrystia Freeland to step down after she came out and said she accepted an economic advisor role for Ukraine. How could you work for another country and actively work as an MP? Plus, you were responsible for sending all that money to Ukraine, and now you're going to work for them? This is a massive conflict of interest, and she should know better. She's been an MP for a very long time. People in her riding that voted for her, liberals, are actually upset about this. It's time for you to resign, Chrystia Freeland. Peter St Onge right here, Canada's new police state. He just released it today. This is a fantastic video. It's 3 minutes and 35 seconds. I'm going to leave this video in the description section of my video. I want you to watch this one. It was very well done. I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite meme accounts. The National Roast has officially reached 14,000 followers on his Twitter X account. Congratulations. In celebratory of the 14,000, let's take a look at his most recent memes. 1 hour ago, he posted, "Mark Carney has a message for Canadians. Who cares?" One of the things that I love about the National Roast and Canada Roast is they became friends online. And these are the two best meme accounts in Canada. And they tag teamed. They are so good. And they republish each other's work. Check out what they did here. Canada Roast asked Grok, "Can you please remove all of the money launderers?" This is the picture that Mark Carney took with all his buddies, the Coalition of the Willing. Check this out. Grok is so smart. Like, it's just so insane. I can't even believe it, Grok. Yeah, that's pretty good. National Roast posted, "Carney's flowchart. Fly around the world. Give away Canada's money. Take boatloads of pictures, get absolutely nothing done, and repeat." This is so true. Good job, National Roast. Donald Trump slams men in women's sports, saying it's not fair and it's disrespectful to women. This should not be controversial. It's complete common sense. Check out Donald Trump's face and how he describes the whole thing. There's memes going across the internet from this.
For a long time, they refused to talk about it. They were embarrassed. But the weightlifting, but no, the girl gets up. And you see, I want to be more, but I have somebody watching. I want to be more effusive. I want to really, yeah. But she gets it, and drops the thing, walks off the stage crying. Her mother's crying, her father's crying. Guy gets up. He said, "Have you lifted before?" "A little bit." And he walks up. Bing. He could have gone ding, 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 ding. I think it was 112 pounds, right?
Holy crap.
It's crazy. And it's so demeaning to women. Women are the, and for a long time, they refused to talk about it. They were embarrassed to talk about it.
Yeah, this whole thing with men and playing in women's sports, I mean, that's a common sense thing. I'm glad Alberta's fixing the whole thing. But the Canada Skate Club, we need to boycott them because they said they wouldn't do any of their sports in Alberta because Alberta stood up for women. Yeah, we should be standing up for women across this country. Canada's mainstream media is in full meltdown mode. They've reached 100% capacity. Any further, and we will start to see news anchors foaming foaming from the mouth.
In Venezuela, and to take over Greenland conforms with Washington's new national security strategy to restore American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere and to protect our homeland and our access to key geographies throughout the region. By definition, that includes Canada.
This is a declaration of unilateralism such as we have never seen.
Bob Rae, Canada's former UN ambassador, is now speaking bluntly about what he sees as an existential threat from a U.S. government now posting, "This is our hemisphere."
We're basically being told that the Americans will do whatever we can get away with, and who's going to stop us?
In just the last few days, the United States has asserted its preeminence in the hemisphere from South America to the high Arctic. Canada is positioned geopolitically, not just next door, but between the U.S. and Russia, as well as China's presence in the high Arctic. America's strategic interest in Canada and what this country has to offer is inescapable.
We're going to be under Washington's thumb, whether we like it or not.
International affairs expert Fen Hampson sees Canadian resources, oil, minerals, infrastructure being subjected to America's security interests.
It kind of looks like we're on the road to being downgraded from a sovereign neighbor to a U.S. junior resource appendage.
What do you think, Canada? Has mainstream media gone too far? This is a global news report. Let's see some of these comments. Canada Rose says, release the elbows. Check out this headline. Canadian tourists voice concerns over Caribbean travel after U.S. strikes on Venezuela. I have a question for you. Are you canceling your vacation plans because CBC told you that it is dangerous to travel around the world? Look, canceling trip to the islands in the Caribbean. Are you canceling your Caribbean trip? And I believe this comment says it all. Anything bad happening in Canada is all Donald Trump's fault because CBC told me so. I have a question for everybody. Can you name one thing that Mark Carney has done in the last 9 months as Prime Minister? I'll go first. He proved that the climate C is not a real threat based on flying around the planet 7 times to take a photo up. Toronto Star, and look, it's almost at 300,000 views, published after Trump's capture of Venezuela Maduro. Does Doug Ford need to watch his back? What? This is the type of articles that mainstream media is published. Just wait till you see what I wrote. Imagine Canadians feared the Liberals as much as they do Donald Trump. Let's be real. The Liberals have caused 10 times more damage to Canada over the last decade than Donald Trump ever has. Here's my last one. Saying no to pipelines to BC coast on repeat while destroying free simple property rights in British Columbia makes you turn into this. If you just keep doing what David Eby is doing, this is a recent photo of him. Is he doing okay? That's it for today's report. I cannot believe how many air miles our Prime Minister, well, not my Prime Minister, but Canada's Prime Minister has flown in his short time as Prime Minister. He's starting off the year in a plane nonstop, and he's going to get nothing done in China. I would be surprised if he doesn't come back with additional tariffs from China. And if it's not from China, maybe Donald Trump's going to add tariffs for having a meeting with China. I'm going to provide lots of updates for everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. I'll see you on the next report.